If COVID-19 is proven to be man-made, what will happen to China? There has been a great deal of controversy as to the origin of the corona or COVID-19 virus. The disease was first reported in December 2019 in Wuhan City, located in central China. As a matter of fact, by December 31, 2019, China reported to the WHO cases of a pneumonia-like outbreak with no known origin emanating from the city of Wuhan. Shortly after, Chinese researchers identified the cause of pneumonia as a new strain of coronavirus. Within a very short time after being reported, COVID-19 circulated across the world, reaching pandemic proportion after affecting and killing millions of people globally. The rest is, as they say, is history. However, many questions linger over the origin of the deadly virus. Many scientists, including those from the World Health Organization, WHO, suggested that no evidence shows that the COVID-19 virus is manufactured. Earlier on, WHO had undertaken a probe into the origin of the virus, which became fruitless. The organization ordered further investigations, which have not yielded any scientific evidence showing that the virus was released intentionally by China. Some people have questioned whether the virus escaped from a secret biological laboratory in Wuhan, where the pandemic originated. Viruses can and have been escaping from laboratories. Indeed, viruses can be accidentally released from laboratories. For example, it is suspected that either Russia or China, in 1977, unintentionally released the formerly extinct H1N1 influenza virus from the laboratory as they were in the process of developing a flu vaccine. After the accidental release, H1N1 proceeded to become a worldwide pandemic. In another instance, the Department of Defense of the US once unknowingly shipped live anthrax-causing bacteria to about 200 laboratories around the world over a period of 12 years. Also, in 2007, there was an outbreak of foot and mouth disease in the UK whose origin was traced to a faulty waste disposal system belonging to a bio-laboratory. The waste disposal system leaked into a stream which is used to supply drinking water to nearby cattle. The US and its allies have increasingly made the subject of the origin of the pandemic contentious. They have suggested that China has not been transparent in declaring the true source of the virus. On several occasions, Donald Trump, the former US president, has given credence to the idea that the virus could have escaped from a laboratory in the Wuhan Institute of Virology. Furthermore, the US and its allies insisted that China was withholding information, suppressing the global efforts to respond to the pandemic. Some time back, the WHO and China formed a joint international research team to determine the origin of the COVID-19. The team's goal is to study all that is known about the outbreak and the effort made by China to locate its source. Critics say that the team was likely to favor the Chinese hypothesis that the virus was transmitted to humans from bats through an intermediate host species, most likely a wild animal sold as food in the wet market. This was a probable theory because other bat coronaviruses such as the SARS, which ravaged the world in 2003, were transmitted to humans in the same way. The SARS outbreak also spread out of southern China and infected more than 8,000 people. Scientists were able to find an identical virus in civet cats and raccoon dogs, which were consumed locally. However, researchers have not pinpointed a food animal acting as a reservoir for the COVID-19 virus despite testing thousands of animals. Why are most people not satisfied with the Chinese version of events leading to the origin of the pandemic? Most people say that the official narrative of the source of the pandemic does not add up, especially when it comes to the epidemiology of the pandemic. There was an incidence of people infected with the disease who had no connection to the Wuhan seafood market, which the Chinese authorities alleged the outbreak began. It has been hard to connect the infection of these people to the wet market because they had never been anywhere close to it. Critics have focused on two particular laboratories in the Wuhan Institute of Virology. The institute has the highest level of security status, i.e. level 4, for biocontainment. It is said that scientists from the Wuhan Center for Disease Control, which is located near the wet market, had gathered bat coronavirus samples for analysis. There have been varied and wild claims on how the virus found itself in human beings. Some people claim that the virus escaped from the institute laboratories during experiments and infected humans. Another claim is that the virus might have escaped due to negligence by staff at the institute during collection or disposal procedures and later infected humans. Furthermore, The Washington Post in 2018 reported that U.S. officials noted deficiencies in security and management in the Wuhan Institute of Virology. Again, the coincidence that the pandemic broke out in Wuhan City, home to the Institute of Virology, is baffling and bordering on suspicion. However, so far, most scientists reject the notion that the virus was engineered in the laboratory. They say that the genetic data indicates that COVID-19 is not obtained from any other virus. What happens if China is found to be guilty? What are the consequences? Views that COVID-19 is manufactured from the laboratory have found growing support across the world. Recently, the US president asked the country's intelligence agencies to investigate further if China had a role to play in the COVID-19 pandemic. Some critics believe that China could have intended to develop illicit biological weapons using the virus. Be that as it may, people can argue that China deliberately caused the deaths of millions of people by allowing a man-made virus to spread. Countries may be obliged to sue the Chinese leadership for crimes against humanity under the Rome Statute, which can be prosecuted in the International Criminal Court, ICC. Furthermore, China's reputation will be greatly damaged, and its standing among the world's nations will be hugely degraded. A recent report in the Daily Mail indicated that the think tank, Henry Jackson Society, produced a report showing that China owed the UK some £351 billion in damages related to COVID-19. Also, Indian jurists presented a case to United Nations Human Rights Council accusing China of clandestinely developing weapons of mass destruction. Other people have filed claims for compensation from the Chinese government. Moreover, most countries have depicted, though subtly, attitudes of displeasure towards China. China may also bear legal responsibility under Article 1 of the International Law Commission if it deliberately and intentionally aided in the spread of COVID-19. Ultimately, the buck stops at the top leadership of China. However, if litigation doesn't work, the injured nations could resort to punishing China by not complying with responsibilities owed to China as a means of forcing it to fulfill its obligations. As part of retribution, other countries may force China to close all the research laboratories suspected of having leaked the virus. Several claims have been made that the Wuhan Institute of Virology lacks adequate biosafety and management protocols and does not meet international standards. Indeed, U.S. officials who visited the facility in 2018 warned the U.S. government that there was a serious shortage of appropriately trained personnel. Because of this, other countries may ask China to close all the research laboratories because of safety concerns. Also, China may have to close the wet markets that trade on animal meat suspected of carrying the coronavirus. Another retributive action is for the world to ban China from importing materials used for making biological weapons if found to be culpable in the spread of the pandemic. China has been accused of not being forthcoming in providing the information needed to ascertain the origin of COVID-19. Indeed, experts have accused China of failing to expeditiously share information with the WHO, by failing to disclose that the virus had infected close to 1,700 health workers. The world may have to force China to open up its laboratories to UN inspectors. The feeling among the international community is that China has been reluctant in sharing information with other actors. For example, it baffled observers when China posted a senior commander of the Defense Forces, a top bio-warfare expert, to head a laboratory in the Wuhan Institute of Virology. There was a feeling that the officer was sent to clean up evidence of virus leakage or the existence of biological weapons program. In this respect, China must allow UN inspectors into the facilities to determine the virus's origin. Imposing economic sanctions could be another option, especially if China fails to abide by the rules set by the international community. The UN and the US might rally other countries to impose some specific economic sanctions on China. Furthermore, it appears as if nations are actively forging alliances to contain China after the outbreak of the COVID-19. Countries like Japan, India, Australia, and the US have come out strongly to rebuke China's action or lack of in stemming the coronavirus.
To keep watching more cool facts, please subscribe to our channel now.